All right, so we're back for another deep dive, and this time we're heading into Jerry's world.
Oh, Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, exactly. We're going to be looking at the episode The Robbery. This is the one where he's thinking about upgrading to a bigger apartment.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We've got the script excerpts, some articles on Seinfeld's comedic style, and even some research on the psychology of city living.
Psychology of city living. That sounds interesting.
Oh, it's going to be a good one. Get ready for some laughs and maybe even some insights along the way.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so the episode kicks off with one of Jerry's stand-up routines, and he's talking about road rage.
Road rage.
Yeah, specifically the power of,
Each a finger.
the finger.
No, it's just simple gesture, but he really dissects it.
Yeah, and he makes you think like, why that finger? Why is it so universally understood?
Exactly. It's fascinating how these random gestures just become part of our social interactions.
And you know what's funny? The whole finger bit
Yeah.
actually sets the stage for the rest of the episode.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, it's like a microcosm of how small things, they can escalate into these ridiculous situations.
Oh, let me see. Like Jerry's apartment hunt.
Exactly.
So we're going from the finger to apartment hunting. This episode is like a gold mine for anyone interested in like the psychology of city living.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've got everything in there.
Well-
Quirky landlords, roommate challenges. It's all there.
Roommates. Oh, speaking of roommates, Elaine's got a doozy in this one.
Oh, tell me about it. This woman is obsessed with chorus line. I mean, can you imagine?
Constantly bursting into song.
Exactly. No wonder she wants to move.
I mean, it might seem a little over the top,
Right.
but it really gets at the challenge of shared living spaces, balancing personal space with the reality of city living.
Yeah. And, finding a compatible roommate.
Right. It's not just about the physical space, it's about personality too.
It's a tough balance to strike.
And then, of course, George comes in with his big discovery, a 2-bedroom apartment he thinks would be perfect for Jerry.
Oh, yeah. And you can practically see the wheels turning into Jerry's head.
Right. Bigger apartment, maybe a fireplace, a garden. Sounds pretty good.
Right. But then there's that other side of Jerry, completely content with his simple life and terrified of change.
So it's like he's weighing the pros and cons.
Exactly. More space versus more responsibility. It's a classic dilemma.
It is. Do you go for the upgrade even if it means taking on more than you can handle?
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we want more, but
Yeah.
sometimes more just equals more problems.
Absolutely, and that's what Jerry's dealing with. I mean, his current apartment, it might be small, but it's familiar.
He's got his routines, his quirks, his sense of control.
Exactly. And the thought of disrupting that, even for a garden and a walk-in closet, it's enough to make him panic.
Speaking of control, have you ever seen anyone pack like Jerry?
Oh my goodness.
This guy has rules for everything. No soft cheese in the fridge, showering after grocery shopping.
It's hilarious.
It is. But it also makes you wonder, is this his way of like trying to impose order on a world that feels chaotic?
Oh, that's an interesting thought. It's like he's creating these little pockets of control in a world where so much feels out of his hands.
Yeah, I mean, even for a weekend trip, the guy brings a mini umbrella.
A mini umbrella. Wow.
I know. And to top it all off, poor Jerry.
Huh.
He also gets his TV stolen.
Oh, no.
I know. But this is where the episode takes a hilarious turn.
Oh, how so?
Kramer decides he's going to solve the case.
Oh, Kramer as a detective. This is going to be good.
It's like he's read one too many Sherlock Holmes novels.
Oh, I can just imagine him.
He immediately fixates on the Englishman who lives down the hall.
The Englishman. What's the connection?
Well, according to Kramer, the guy likes tea. Case closed.
Classic Kramer jumping to conclusions.
Absolutely. But you know what? His detective work actually brings up a good point. When something bad happens, we crave an explanation.
Even if it's totally illogical.
Exactly. And we've got to blame someone, right?
Right.
Make sense of the chaos.
It's a very human thing to do.
This episode is just layers upon layers. And you know what we haven't even gotten to yet? Elaine's negotiation with Jerry over his old couch.
Oh, the couch. That's a good one.
They're haggling over this beat-up piece of furniture like it's some priceless artifact.
It's amazing how the show takes these mundane situations and uses them to explore deeper themes.
Right. It's not just about the couch, it's about control. About who gets to dictate the terms of their relationship, even as it's changing.
It's like they're both clinging to the past as they navigate this uncertain future.
Exactly. It's all about change and how we deal with it.
And that uncertainty really kicks in when they're actually signing that lease.
Oh yeah, 3-year commitment.
That's a long time.
It's enough to make anyone sweat a little.
You can just feel the tension building.
And then, of course, they have to bring their own chaos into the mix.
Oh, right. The cheese competition.
Classic Jerry, Elaine, and George.
Trying to make a big life decision with this completely ridiculous system.
But even their system falls apart. I mean, let's be real. They can't even agree on the rules of a coin toss.
Oh, George's meltdown over that coin hitting the table is just gold.
Priceless. You'd think he lost a fortune, not a maybe bad apartment.
It's those overreactions that make the show so good.
Totally taking these everyday situations and blowing them way out of proportion, but in a way we can all relate to.
I mean, who hasn't felt that panic when making a big decision?
Exactly.
And it's not just the big stuff either. This episode is full of those little moments that just make you laugh because you've been there.
Oh, like what?
Like when Jerry's giving Elaine this whole list of rules about his apartment.
Oh, yeah. No soft cheese in the refrigerator. Keep romantic activities in the bathtub.
It's hilarious, but it also kind of shows that need for control.
Even as he's giving up the apartment.
Exactly. And Elaine, of course, is just like, whatever, Jerry.
She's not about to let him run her life.
She's great. So strong and independent and funny.
Totally. And she's sharp, too.
Remember her line about moving from Iceland to Finland?
Oh, yeah. It perfectly captures how different their perspectives are on this whole apartment thing.
It shows that what might feel like an upgrade to one person.
Could be a total burden to someone else.
And even when we think we've made the right choice, sometimes that what-if feeling creeps in.
That's where the episode takes a bit of a darker turn.
They start to second-guess themselves about not taking the apartment.
Especially Jerry and George.
And George, being George, fixates on the bathroom mirror in that coffee shop scene.
Like, that mirror holds the answer to all his problems.
Right. Even his diet. He's convinced this missed apartment was the key to everything.
Always looking for something to blame for his unhappiness.
But under the humor, there's this real sense of regret.
That longing for what might have been.
And then just when you think they're coming to terms with their decision.
Fate steps in.
Big time.
The waitress they were talking to in the coffee shop, turns out she got the apartment.
The one they rejected.
And to make matters worse,
She introduces her husband, Larry, who is, of course, super fit and healthy.
from running in the park.
The park that's right outside their dream apartment.
Like a slap in the face.
It's like the universe is laughing at them.
Showing them exactly what they missed out on.
And then, as if that wasn't enough,
Here comes Diane.
the attractive neighbor, who also happens to be a masseuse.
I mean, come on.
Every detail is just twisting the knife.
Highlighting everything they could have had.
And poor George, he can't even enjoy the moment.
Why not?
He's too busy lamenting all the food he can't eat because of his diet.
Of course he is. Always finding a way to make it about himself.
But it does make you think about how we compare ourselves to others.
Focusing on what we don't have instead of what we do.
We get so caught up in what other people have that we forget to be grateful for what we have.
Social media doesn't help.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's easy to fall into that trap of thinking everyone else has it all figured out.
But that this episode reminds us that we never really know what's going on behind the scenes.
Exactly. What looks perfect on the outside might be a completely different story.
So true.
And just when they hit rock bottom, the episode throws in another twist.
Oh, yeah, those two guys behind them.
Remember, one of them casually mentions he's moving to Atlanta,
Giving up his apartment.
and suddenly Jerry, Elaine, and George are back in the game.
Desperate for another shot at that perfect place.
It's like a never-ending cycle.
Of desire and regret.
We make choices, face disappointment,
And we end up right back where we started.
acing after that next thing we think will make us happy.
It's a cycle we all get caught up in.
But maybe the real lesson here
Is that the pursuit of perfect?
can actually stop us from being content. You know, it's wild how this episode, it starts as this straightforward story about apartment hunting, but then it turns into this whole commentary on, missed opportunities and regret.
It's true. It really plays with your expectations. At first, you're drawn in by this perfect apartment. Elaine and George are all about that fireplace and the garden.
Yeah, they see it as this, like a step up, a chance to escape their cranked lives.
But Jerry, though,
Jerry's hesitant.
yeah, he's happy with his simple life and the idea of more responsibility, even for more space. It just freaks him out.
Like he can already see the problems coming, right?
Mm.
Wood deliveries, a gardener, everything that could go wrong.
And that tension, that back and forth in Jerry's head, it kind of mirrors like the bigger theme of the whole episode, right?
Yeah, it's like this constant battle between wanting more, but being afraid of what comes with it.
It's something we all struggle with, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, we're always told to strive for more, bigger, better, but then what happens when we get it and it's not what we thought?
That's where the regret comes in, and this episode really nails that feeling of like, what if? Especially in that last scene with Carol the waitress.
Oh, man, when she introduces her husband,
Larry.
Larry, who is, of course, super fit.
From running in the park.
The park that's right next to their dream apartment.
It's like a punch in the gut.
The universe is just messing with them, showing them exactly what they could have had.
And then Diane.
The attractive neighbor, the masseuse.
It's almost cruel how perfect it seems.
Like the writers are saying, here's what you missed out on, guys.
And George.
Oh, George.
He can't even appreciate the moment.
Nope, he's too busy complaining about his diet.
Of course he is. Got to make it about himself.
But it really highlights how easy it is to compare ourselves to others.
To focus on what we lack instead of what we have.
Like social media, everyone's showing off their perfect lives, and we're stuck feeling like we're not good enough.
It's so easy to get sucked into that.
But this episode is a good reminder that you never know what's really going on.
What looks perfect might not be.
Totally. And sometimes the things we think we want, they actually come with their own problems.
Definitely.
And just when you think it can't get worse, remember those guys behind them in the coffee shop?
Yeah, one of them mentions he's moving
To Atlanta.
and giving up his art.
And boom, Jerry, Elaine, and George are back in the game.
Hooked again on finding that perfect apartment.
It's this crazy cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, desire, regret, disappointment, and then you start all over again.
I think we all get caught up in that sometimes.
It's easy to.
But maybe the real lesson here is that chasing perfect, it actually gets in the way of just being happy with what you've got.
Maybe it's about enjoying the ups and downs, the surprises.
And accepting that perfect might not even exist.
It's a good thought.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the robbery. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it? Laughs, cringes, and maybe a little bit of self-reflection along the way.
We've all been there.
We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive into something fascinating.
Until then, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And remember, sometimes the best things in life are the ones you don't plan for.